Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to kick some news to you. I'm going to take you on a journey. It's the old school journey. Where we can vibe on the volume, get down on some love making, R&B, good soul music. So to get you in the groove, let me see you just move your waist. That's right, young lady. Move your waist. That's right. Sexy lady. Swing your arms left to right. That's right. You got it. Let me take you on this journey.
Yeah, old school vibe indeed. I picked that tune intentionally. That's exactly what I wanted to create when I spec'd out the Jag. I wanted to create an old school vibe. So that really dictated the colour, the wheels and the gearbox as well. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so obviously the colour's important. I like the reds. I like the bright fire sand orange, but I'm getting on a bit now, and I wanted to pick something that was a bit more reflective of my age. I know that colour's a very subjective thing, and everyone has their own opinions. But, as I said, I wanted to create an old school vibe with this car. You know, silver Aston Martins and James Bond. Sean Connery, not Roger Moore. 60s, not 70s. I guess we're really talking DB5s rather than old E-types, but you kind of get my point. Anyway, that's why I went for the Ammonite Grey. I think it sits perfectly on the car. Gives it a nice mix of modern and retro. George Best and the Beatles would definitely have driven this car, no doubt about it. Yeah, the wheels. Bit of a subjective and often contentious issue when you're speccing out a car. Here's my take on it. Personally, I don't like modern super large wheels. I think they're just getting a bit too big these days and just taking centre stage over the car itself. Even if you set aside the aesthetics for a moment, I really don't like the harsh and bumpy ride that you often get from the combination of big rims and thin rubber. Don't get me wrong, they look great in photos, but I spend a lot more time driving my car than I do looking at it, so I'll take a decent ride over marketing folly every day of the week. I'm also not a big fan of dark grey or glossy black alloys, and especially not on a car where I'm trying to create that old school vibe. My F-Type definitely had to have silver alloys. So I thought the standard 18-inch Velas were just a bit too small for the car, so the best compromise for me was some 19 inches. I really like these 19-inch propellers. They look great and they sit perfectly against the Ammonite Grey paint and the chrome trim. We're back on that DB5 vibe again. Okay, let's talk about the manual gearbox. I tried one with flappy paddles on my test drive. I tried to like it, honestly I did. But when it came down to it, I just really wasn't feeling it, I'm sorry. I understand that it makes the acceleration faster, it's something like half a second. And I know that the modern auto boxes are more fuel efficient as well. And I also get that this is just the way that most sports cars are going these days. But for the time being, and definitely on a car like mine with that old school vibe, I just had to have the manual box. Do I regret the decision? No way. On the contrary, I'm even more certain now that this was the right way to go with this car. Aside from anything else, I'm not sure if perhaps this is just me, but don't manual cars just sound that bit better in acceleration? Ah, the power tailgate. That nearly didn't get onto the car. I originally spec'd the car without the power tailgate. It wasn't a question of money, I just didn't honestly think that I needed it. But when I got home after placing the order and I jumped on YouTube and watched a bunch of videos for a few weeks, I realised I just had to have it on the car. So I eventually called up the dealer and fortunately I managed to get it added to the spec just before they started the build. I'm really pleased with it and I use it every day. When I go to work, instead of putting my laptop case on the passenger seat, I just pop open the tailgate and it's closing automatically for me while I'm climbing in the driver's side. Apart from anything else, it just looks cool. Park assist, bit of a no-brainer really. The visibility in the F-Type isn't that bad really, but there's definitely going to be some times when the rear camera display is going to come in handy. Have I used it yet? To be honest, no, not really. But sometimes, somewhere in the future, I know I'm going to be extracting myself from a tight slot in a multi-storey car park, and I'm going to be grateful that I added this into the spec. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to do a full review video in a month or so's time. I'm going to compare it to my last car, a Cayman 981. Got lots of other interesting videos lined up though in the meantime. But for now, let's just enjoy that old school vibe.
Come on. Curtis Mayfield. Saluting the old school. That's right. Crown jewels. Come on. Young and old. Can always learn. Celebrate. Commemorate.